fade to black. Got my thumb on the transition and OBS button. We are on the intro. All right, we can start in 5, 4, 3.
Yummy like a gummy bear.
It's the internet. You're busy. Let's do this for January 6th, 2024. For the next hour or so, let me help you sort through the world of gaming on Game Mess Mornings Live with me, Jeff Grubb. Today, the holiday break is really over now, and you can tell because we have news on Switch 2, a new Xbox, a new Minecraft, and new old games from PlayStation. But first, please join me in welcoming today's co-host, the Game Mess Mornings. It's Jason Fanelli, everybody. Jason, how are you doing?
I am great. I am refreshed after a nice winter break with the family, doing family things. I am ready for more Switch 2 edging until they finally release this thing. It's been good. I'm very excited about the prospect. We talked about this before we got on the show, of that team on my wall and that team on your shirt meeting in the semifinal before the Super Bowl. That is quite a prospect. It has me very excited.
Yep, it seems plausible. Definitely seems plausible. Boy, I am not refreshed. I went to the Sunday night football game last night in Detroit. I drove up there, went with my brothers, and it was fantastic. It was awesome, but it was the Sunday night football game. I was not counting on that when we first was like, we were like, hey, let's get tickets and let's go. I'm like, yeah, sure. Like, it'll be afternoon game, whatever. I'll just drive home that evening. We'll get some dinner. Nope, Sunday night football, and I woke up, took care of a bunch of stuff because there's like a million things I was planning to take care of on the break, Jason, and of course I got to like half of them, and so I was like, I'll take care of some of this stuff, and then I go to get in the van to go, and it won't start. It won't start. The van's been so reliable recently, but I think it's just a little too cold. I just ran to Walmart real quick, got a battery, swapped it out. I got in the Prius to do that. I wasn't able to start the van. So I got in the Prius, got the battery, got it in there. So I'm like running late. I didn't eat all day, basically. It was, yeah, I was like, ran up there.
And I bet you weren't exactly responsible in the stands either.
Was not responsible in the stands. I had so many gay Bud Lights. It was incredible. That was a good time. And then get to the game, and I'm like, man, this could go bad. Like, the defense has been bad recently, and it was awesome. They killed it. But as soon as it was over, we walked out to my van. I just drove home that night. Got home at like 3:30, and
how long is that ride for you?
It's from the stadium, it's not bad. It's 2 hours and 15 minutes. It's not the worst.
Right.
I had to stop and get gas. I found a Taco Bell. That was my first real meal of the day at 1 a.m.
Always good.
Yes.
Always good. Topical with Jesse Fanelli asking about your Taco Bell drive-through choices on Blue Sky yesterday.
Yes.
Started a whole discussion there.
Yep. I got a Crunchwrap Supreme, something I could eat in the vehicle. So it was good. It was a good deal.
That's the one.
Couldn't sleep, so because I was pretty excited about the day's events, and then also just a really terrible sleep schedule because of this vacation, because of this break. So
yeah, I'm
wiped out, but I gotta say, pretty excited to come back and talk about video games with you, Jason.
Yes, I'm excited to talk about video games with you too. I understand the whole do schedule things for yourself to do over the break and not actually get any of them done. I don't know if you can see behind me here. I don't know how I'm framed, but this is I meant to sort this Magic the Gathering collection, and I got about, believe it or not, that's more than halfway through. So still working on it. Still have piles to go through, but we're slowly getting through it. But no, we did family stuff. We had a good time, so it was worth not getting that done.
I probably should, because I mentioned on social media that I was on a train that derailed. People probably are wondering about that.
Yes, let's talk about this, please. I also need to know what a winking lizard is, or whatever that place is called. But so was it like a Polar Express type deal?
It was like a Polar Express type deal. Yeah, it's for entertainment purposes, not for actual travel purposes. You get on the train in one part of Cuyahoga Scenic Valley, whatever it's called, and then it drives you to the other side. To trains you to the other side, and then suddenly you're in the North Pole. You went all the way to the North Pole, and you get to see Santa and stuff like that. And Yeah, it is. We've done it before.
Well, it's supposed to be.
It's a lot of fun. As we were pulling in, it got very bumpy and weird, and I grabbed the kids thinking the worst was happening, and the train slowly started to tip over. But thankfully, before the worst could happen, it came to a stop. We're going slow because we're going to slowly go past, Santa and the elves, and then Santa's going to get on the train. So it was already slowing down. So it's like, 5 miles per hour. So it was not ever at like some risk of, derailing and then, traveling.
Catastrophe.
Half a mile into the woods or something like that. No, yeah. But, the thing really could have tipped over. That was the thing I was like pretty worried about, because we're at a table and the table's not bolted down. It's just going to slide across, and there's another family on the other side with their table, and it's like things would have just gotten smashed together. But at the end of the thing, it tilted about 10% to the side, 10 degrees to the side, I should say, and that you could feel that, and that was weird. We had to basically walk off of our train car onto some of the other ones that were not derailed, and they were going to have us wait there until buses came to pick us up, because they weren't going to be able to get it back onto the train tracks. And instead, they gave us the option, like, hey, we are at this part of town. There is like some ways to get an Uber here. Do you want to do that? I'm like, we're getting off. And we're going to do that. We're going to figure it out. And thankfully, as we were getting off, they were like, hey, there is a winking lizard, which is basically like a BW3s. It's a B-dubs.
Okay.
Yeah, it's, food and beer. We've got a lot of beers on tap. It's a nice place. The kids and Steph went in there. Steph got a beer. They hung out. I got an Uber, went and got in the van, came back and picked them up. And it worked out fine. We were home and safe and warm by about 12:31 a.m. And the people that were still on the train were still on the train at that point. So,
God.
Yeah, it was like, but buses were coming slowly. I think they had like 2 buses for about 600 people. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Was somebody on the naughty list? Like, what the hell?
I think it could have been me. I think it was, I think it was PlayStation. I think it was, or maybe Nintendo trying to wipe me out. They're like,
you want your Switch too, huh?
Yeah. The Nintendo jail, forget that. Nintendo execution is what they were going for.
Judge, jury, and execution. Jeez. Well, I think I will speak for myself and everyone on the chat right now to say it is good to see you in one piece, even if the train almost did not get you that way. Your mind might not be in one piece, but that's the lion's fault.
Yeah, that has nothing to do with the train. Absolutely.
Yeah. But are the kids like okay? Are they afraid of trains?
They definitely were like, well, that was satisfactory. That's kind of how they're looking at it. Steph's a little bit more like, hey, we might not do that next year. Yeah, I get it.
That's what my wife, who also named Steph, ironically, would have.
All
would
wives
say.
are named Steph, I think. Yeah.
All wives are named Steph. Yours, mine, everyone's. And now she's upstairs wondering, what the hell is he saying about me? But yeah, my wife would be like, we're never doing that again. Like, never, not even once.
Yep.
And that's just how it's going to be. And if you like the train before, had those memories, that's it. This is the memory I'm going to stick with. Fuck that train. Fuck the train.
I guess it's worth pointing out, that was the last train ride of the season that they were doing that we were on. And it's the only time it's ever derailed. It's
trip to the finish line.
Yep, exactly. So very, very strange. But hey, no harm, no foul. 600 people on there. No one got hurt. So
that's awesome. That part, if it's going to happen, that being the end result, you can only be thankful or grateful for.
Yeah,
so
it has made me want to like look into like what mitigation trains have for tipping over, because it's like, I wonder if that's they built it so all the weight really is kind of between those two wheels, so it's actually very hard for them to tip over, because that's what it felt like. It's like, well, I'm surprised this thing didn't just go, but maybe maybe they're engineered that way.
Yeah, if you do look into that, let me know, because the CSX freight line is right on the other side of the street. So I just want to know what I have coming to me. God forbid.
Let's explain what we do here. Most weekdays, I, Jeff Grubb, will help piece your gaming life back together. That includes breaking news and maybe even some of our own original reporting. For all these topics, I'll get the input of a bona fide expert who will make me look smart. If you are watching live on Twitch, welcome. You can always listen to the show later on podcast feeds by searching for Game Mess Mornings, or find the RSS on giantbomb.com. You can also catch the show later with chapters and timestamps on YouTube. Hello, YouTube.
Real quick before you get started, Peekaboo in the chat said all moms are Karen and all wives are Steph.
That's
mom is Karen.
That show, really? That's incredible. That shirt will be in the store by the end of the day, everybody. Yeah. All right. We should start here with Nintendo Switch 2 Joy-Con images apparently emerge. Could tease unexpected new feature. This comes from Evan Campbell at GameSpot. Drip, drip, drip. The Nintendo Switch 2 leaks keep coming, and as this time unconfirmed images of a retail model left Joy-Con for the upcoming console appeared online over the weekend. In addition, fans believe they've discovered an unexpected feature for the new Joy-Cons after poring over pictures. This would include mouse functionality. The three new Switch 2 Joy-Cons the three new Switch 2 Joy-Con images popped up on Reddit over the weekend, allegedly from a Chinese factory. Let me turn on headlines while I'm talking here. Excuse me. Allegedly from a Chinese factory, showcasing a black controller with a light blue interior. VGC then reported that eagle-eyed fans believe they've spotted an optical sensor on the side of the Joy-Con, sort of on the interior where maybe the L and R buttons were hiding before.
Okay.
That would mean the controller could function like a PC mouse, offering a new method to play Switch 2 games. Supposedly, shipping data for Switch 2 also points to mouse-like functionality per another Reddit post. So it's not just the optical sensor that is kind of convincing people. That's not what convinced me. I'm like, there was that little IR camera on the bottom of the Joy-Con for the Switch 1. Maybe it's like some new version of that. But there are these little pads at the top and the bottom of that interior on the same side as the sensor that look like the kinds of pads that you would have on the bottom of the mouse so that it slides along a surface. So at that point, I'm like, oh, they built a mouse into the Switch 2. That is pretty clever. Now, what are your expectations? Let's just assume that this is what's happening. What are your expectations for what mouse functionality on the Switch 2 could enable, could empower, could make use of?
The long-awaited revival of Mario Paint.
I mean, right. It's like, for me, that's the first place I go to. Yeah. I get that, first-person shooters and RTS and stuff like that, people start to think of. I'm like,
It's Nintendo. I don't think of shooters when I think of Nintendo. I think of weird painting software for your Super Nintendo with a music box feature that I spent way too much time playing as a kid.
Yeah.
That's what I think of. So, yeah, I mean, and it also, too, the article mentioned the Lenovo Legion Go. That's the first thing I thought of.
Yeah, totally.
Because that little mouse pad on the right-hand side. It sounds to me like they want to get into more creative software because the controller, like, I've been playing a lot of Minecraft ever since the girls got Switches for Christmas. Minecraft has been what they've been playing together. And I had played that on PC a little bit before I played it on the Switch. And for me, it's just, and I don't say this about many games, but keyboard and mouse on Minecraft just makes more sense to me. Like being able to move the blocks around and be more creative, a little more precise. So if they're going to like maybe have an enhanced Minecraft or this Mario Paint, like I'm saying, it sounds like they're going to have a whole wing of creative, like I should say, user-generated creative games, like a Mario Paint or something like that.
Yeah, that's something that they have a history of doing. After Mario Paint, they had a suite of Mario creative tools, Mario Creative Cloud for the 64DD in Japan. And, they haven't done a ton of stuff like that since then, but you got the sense that there was always a curiosity from Nintendo to explore these ideas in more detail, and they were just like, it turns out maybe the console isn't the best way to do that. Now,
right?
Maybe it could be. It could be something where it's like people get their hands on the Joy-Con and they're just using the mouse. And like I'll demonstrate, I guess, for people watching the video, I'll try to walk it through. Basically, it's like, this is the surface, this is the Joy-Con, and I'm holding the left Joy-Con, and like again, I'm putting the ridge side, the side that connects to the Switch, on the ground, and then you'd have the two mouse buttons here. You'd have a left and right mouse, and you just move it like this. It feels fine. I bet it'd be uncomfortable for long periods of time if you were like doing a ton of like shooter games or something like that. But like sitting back and making something in Mario Paint, yeah.
But you know what else too? As you're doing that, I'm imagining one on either side. I'm getting like Steel Battalion vibes. So like a Ace Combat or like some sort of flight sim or vehicle simulation where you're doing clutches and maybe even like a motorcycle type of thing.
You might really be onto something there. Actually, that makes a ton of sense for like the way Nintendo would want to like do something different.
Mario Kart.
Yeah, I mean
with that.
Yeah, I mean you're right though. Yeah, like turning that into a throttle on the side. Like it's like, you know, my expectation, Jason, for something like this is that Nintendo does it includes features that support this in many of their games, and then third party, it is here is a mouse pointer if you want it in your game. Like that's how these Nintendo gimmicks normally go. But I, you know, as someone who's like been looking at the Switch 2 for a long time, and as we all have, been waiting to see like, okay, what is gonna be the thing? I don't think this is like the thing. I think this is like a part of a suite of gimmicks that they're going to have for the Switch 2. It's a thing, but I'm like, this is a pretty good one. I think they could, you know, it can serve some like just very basic functionality. It can make it so like something like a Mario Paint can return. Like, okay, I like both of those things, and then it also could have the wild sort of gimmick side of things where Nintendo's like, here's a bunch of new motion control stuff you do because this thing it's got a gyro, it's got an accelerometer, and it's got a optical mouse thing. This gives us a lot of points of information to maybe give you some really cool interactive features in a bunch of our weird games from our weird studios. I think that checks a lot of boxes there. So I'm a fan of this idea.
Yeah, I like it too. And it's the kind of out of the box thought that when they announce it, at first I'd be like, wow, that's very surprising. But then when they get the console in my hand, I'm like, why hadn't anybody thought of this before? Yeah. I feel like the Switch in general was that last time. This time, this seems like a proper iteration. But yeah, I'm very like, the more I think about it, the more applications this could have. And we're not even thinking of the potential gimmicks that they would use this technology for in a 3D Mario space or in the next Zelda, because I'm sure they're already thinking of something to do. Now, I hope it's not like dowsing in Skyward Sword, because who wants to do that?
Right, exactly. Yes.
But if they can find something fun to do with this, I dig it. It's kind of cool.
Yep.
Also, Marino in the chat said the forbidden words, wave race. That would be nice. But
I guess you could like treat that as a throttle. You could even like maybe turn it sideways because your thumb.
Maybe that's where F-Zero's been.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, because like your thumbs rest like if you turn it sideways, your thumb rests right here on these buttons.
And if you're still holding it down,
you kind of hold it. You're holding like you just hold it like reverse, like with the analog stick out by your fingers, and then. Yeah, you could. Ooh, yeah, that would be cool.
Wait, hey, Jeff, come on now.
Yeah, the reverse hand. You know, it's called the Stranger, I think. Yeah. Wow, man, it took one episode back in 2025. Which, by the way, I did say 2024 when we started the show. So,
did you? There's your one. Everybody gets one.
I'm gonna have like 12. It's gonna happen for the next 2 weeks, but I'll fix it eventually. All right, let's move along here. I dropped this one in here. Okay, the trailer dropped 20 minutes ago, confirming Fantastic Four in Marvel Rivals. So actually announced. I saw the leaked image over the last week or whatever. Who knew? There's no time during that period.
That's true.
And my thought was, holy crap, these characters look incredible. It's honestly maybe the best for the Fantastic Four has ever looked. I mean, I think this is one of the strengths of Marvel Rivals is every character looks incredible, looks so awesome, and there's no that it continues to hold true for these Fantastic Four characters, where it's like, yeah, the Thing looks tough as hell, and you know, Susan Storm, Miss Fantastic looks incredible as well. Like just across the board, they all look just hot, and it's very exciting. And that's a game that I've enjoyed playing. You can imagine some ways where like the powers will work, but it's like I kind of trust this studio to make a bunch of fun characters. And it's also like, man, 4 new characters in one drop, just ready to go. Also, like 4 new characters from like a collective, a team. So it's like they're going to have maybe similar theming, but you get why that makes sense for Marvel Rivals, a game that has those synergistic features where if you do have multiple characters on in a comp that are thematically associated with one another, they often get bonuses that enable them to do something together. So it's like, why not drop them all together so that people can get used to like using them all at once? And it's like, man, I kind of want to go play more Marvel Rivals to enjoy some Fantastic Four. What do you think?
I think dropping them all at once is really cool. Now, you said they are 4 separate characters. Like, there's not a. I haven't watched the trailer yet. I only saw that
you know what? I'm assuming so because it's like, there's like Cloak and Dagger or whatever that they have.
Okay,
like,
yeah, that'd be a wild like ice climber situation.
Yeah, but I bet these are also separate characters.
Yeah, and if they all have different like archetypes, but they can synergize together, like you said, then I worry if they become overpowered and the meta just becomes flooded with Fantastic Four. Now, I have not played Marvel Rivals yet. It is downloaded on my Legion Go. I just haven't had a chance to sit down and play it since. I completely agree with you, though, about the character designs themselves. There are a couple of weird ones. Wolverine sticks out. But ultimately, sit down, Hat, they are fantastic. I love every one that I've seen. They all just look so damn cool. I wish they looked like that in comics or other video games too. Like these it'd be cool if these designs carried off into other places. And the Fantastic Four, based on that teaser image that you were mentioning, is no exception. They look awesome. But as far as how they're going to play, here's the trailer now. Thank you. I appreciate that. I suspect of the 4 of them, I will use Thing, because traditionally in games like this, I am like a Reinhardt and Overwatch player, up in the front, tank sort of player. That was Dracula too. That's strange. Never mind. Was it Dracula? I don't know.
No, it was probably strange.
But yeah, but Thing here, if I had to guess which one of the 4 I'm going to be using, it's going to be him. But no, this is a great choice by. I feel like this game got written off as a Overwatch ripoff, and then all it had to do was come out.
Yeah.
And it has just really established itself as not just a Overwatch ripoff, but that's definitely Dracula.
Wow. Okay. Very cool.
But as the filler of the void.
Yeah.
Right? Like the Overwatch 2 was on a downswing, and Marvel Rivals just came in and ate its lunch. And that, good for them. Yep. I hope it keeps going like that. It's going to get me eventually, like I said, once I finally get some time to sit down and play it. It's going to get me. But for now, yeah, I'm excited to see more.
Yeah, me too. I think it's like, yeah, people accept it pretty quickly. It's like, yeah, it is an Overwatch ripoff. It's shameless and kind of so what? At a certain point, it's like, is it fun or not? And I think people are like, yeah, this is fun. It is completely different characters. It has some of its own charms, even if it's borrowing the vast majority of its charms. People really just want something fun to play with characters that they like and make those characters look cool and strong. And that's what they do here. All these characters look great. They're all caked up, every single one of them. It's just across the board. I think they've nailed this.
I think that's the buffest I've ever seen Mr. Fantastic. And
yeah,
the fact that he's giving me a Kratos vibe with that big old beard.
Yeah, I see it totally. Yeah, it's I want to play more Marvel Rivals. All right, let's keep going here with these other stories. Next, Xbox rumored to launch in 2026 with new Call of Duty. This is from George Yang at GameSpot. It seems like the next Xbox console might be arriving a little earlier than expected, and it may already have a name. According to Call of Duty leaker The Ghost of Hope, Microsoft is reportedly launching the next Xbox console in 2026 alongside Infinity Ward's next Call of Duty game. The console is reportedly called Xbox Prime, but it's unclear whether that's the final name or just a code name. The leaker added that Microsoft's rumored handheld will be releasing after the next console, but didn't specify whether that'd still be in 2026 or sometime in 2027 and beyond. Excuse me. Console generations typically last around 7 or 8 years, so Microsoft potentially releasing the next Xbox in 2026 would be a bit early, considering the Xbox Series X and S launched in 2020. Yeah, sure, but they didn't have the mid-gen refresh, right? So that kind of puts a little bit of a kink in the works where, these days, and really, people try to measure out a generation. That's difficult to do. We have a small sample size, all things considered. There's only been so many console generations, and it seems like the length of them is more dictated by the realities on the ground than by any sort of playbook that says this is how long a generation's supposed to last. But yeah, okay, the last generation and the one before that, they lasted 7-8 years. That's true. But I think that the reality here is Xbox saw a chance to be like, listen, we already have the Xbox Series X versus S. Introducing a mid-gen refresh would probably be a little bit more confusing than the previous generations. And also, if we just wait a little bit longer, we can just kind of get coupled from Sony's release schedule, so that we're not always putting out a new Xbox when they're putting out a new PlayStation. And we think that is probably what we want to be doing going forward. So I'm not surprised by this at all. In fact, 2026 is what I've been expecting for a long time. Sure, some of that was based on things I've heard, but it's those are rumblings that happen all the time, and they don't always pan out. So getting more confirmation or more rumors, I suppose, saying that is the plan, and to line it up with a Call of Duty, yeah, that sounds about right to me. What do you think?
Yeah, I have anticipated that the next Xbox would be a little bit sooner, simply because of the lack of mid-gen refresh, like you mentioned earlier. We've gotten iterations on the existing console, like higher Terras and maybe some better parts inside, but not the actual PS5 Pro-esque refresh.
Right.
So for them to come out with their next Xbox in 2026, which, as you said, is about a year or so early if you're trying to time out generations. This all makes sense to me. Pairing it with a Call of Duty game also makes sense, especially if they're going to do a exclusive scenario. I guess they can do that now, or however they're going to, maybe a timed exclusive. The console comes out a month before it comes out on PlayStation, or what have you. Whatever they were fighting about in the FTC, they said, "Oh, we're not going to do that." Of course, they're going to do it. But part of me is worried, though. Part of me is worried about the next console generation because of how in vogue generative AI is, and I'm afraid that stank is going to be all over the next generation of consoles, and it just worries the shit out of me. But I mean,
I think it's they could brand the Xbox as a co-pilot thing, right? Like all their computers right now, all the Windows PCs are like a co-pilot PC, and everyone's like, "Hey, we don't care about this. What do you like? Okay, cool." I could very easily see them doing that. Although by 2026 they'll probably have some new initiative.
Sure.
Yeah, I feel like I remember them having written agreements with regulators saying that they would never make Call of Duty exclusive, but that doesn't mean they couldn't get cute and maybe have, the early access period. That's not, exclusive.
Timed exclusive.
Yeah, something like that. Where, or just, it is a much better experience on Xbox in terms of just getting it earlier and free, or early and reduced cost or something like that. But I think what they found out with this last Call of Duty, the Black Ops, which is Black Ops 6, is that just what it's called?
I think so, yeah.
What they found out with that is people are buying the crap out of this game because it's a good Call of Duty, and that benefited Xbox, while it also sold better on PlayStation and was on Game Pass. So it's they saw growth across the board. I think they're going to be happy to take all that money and then launch a new Xbox, and hopefully just try to do what happened with Hogwarts Legacy, where that game was not exclusive to PlayStation, but it's heavily associated with PlayStation 5. And I think they're going to try to do that. They've done that with Call of Duty in the past. Call of Duty during the Xbox 360 generation, they had the exclusive stuff on we get the maps early and all this stuff like that. And that benefited them, and people associated Call of Duty with Xbox to the point where it's Call of Duty still did very well on Xbox even after the marketing deal went over to PlayStation, and PlayStation was clearly far ahead. It's no, there were still a lot of Call of Duty players on Xbox. So, I think they're going to just try to line those two things up and let that, synergy carry them forward. What do we expect from a new Xbox at this point? It's just,
that's my question. How much more, besides better graphics, which TVs at this point, are they able to even show them, or do you have to get I've always been a little afraid that consoles will go the way of PCs. They won't be high-end prices, but they'll be they already are the same amount that I built the PC I'm using right now to talk to you. So how much further can you go? I think PS5 Pro might have been a bit of an eye-opener for some people, that it was so damn expensive for what was the mid-season refresh. And I don't see that going away anytime soon. Especially with potential outside influences in the people who run the country, and whatever shenanigans they might get into. So I don't know. I don't know what another console could possibly look like that the current consoles aren't already doing, with the exception of better performance. Like,
Right.
at least Nintendo, as we just talked about, maybe putting a mouse gimmick in their controllers to try something new. I don't expect something like that from Xbox. Do you?
No.
No.
I think they're gonna just try to make a box that feels kind of like. I think the big change here is it'll be more open. The rumors for a while now have been they're gonna let you just install Steam on the Xbox and stuff like that, and install any store you want on there. It will be like a PC in many ways, and I don't think that means that like the Xbox sort of interface with its own store and all stuff will be like shoved off to the side. That'll still be front and center. But I think they're gonna be like, we're not precious about this stuff anymore. We're gonna let you, open up the walled garden. And I think that is interesting, but I just don't know if that's like a feature to people.
Now, this is a rumor. Could it be that some wires are crossed and we're talking about an Xbox handheld?
Yeah, I mean, I think that an Xbox handheld is also coming for sure.
Sure.
I think this timeline that this story laid out of in 2026, the new home under the TV console
Okay.
Xbox comes out in 2026, and then soon after, because it's 2025 now. We're talking about next year. We're talking next year. Now, sure, it's going to be probably late next year because we're talking about the Call of Duty that launches in late 2026. So effectively like almost 2 calendar years, but we're talking about 2026 from 2025. And then, so another 6 months after that, another year after that. So maybe 2027, we get the handheld. That sounds right to me based on like the amount of time it would take to go from kind of being like, hey, the Steam Deck's pretty cool. Maybe we could we'll go over to Asus and be like, hey, can we bundle up some Xbox stuff with the Ally, and then realizing that's working really well too. We should make one of our own. It's only been a year of research and development for that, really. It's going to take quite a few more years for them to like actually fully flesh that idea out, and that's before we even get to like the problems of, okay, well, if it's an Xbox, it's going to have to play all the Xbox games. It means it's going to have support for x86. Is it going to be an x86 based processor like the Steam Deck is, or is it going to be something more handheld friendly like the Switch is? And if that's the case, are you going to develop the translation layer to make all these games work? All that stuff is possible. It's on the table. I'm sure they're investigating it. I think it's likely they go the way of having a handheld that is more similar to the Switch, and then they just do really good emulation because they're very good at that.
Sure.
But that stuff is going to take time. So it's highly unlikely that in 2026 it'll be the handheld.
Right. You're talking about like a PS Portal situation?
Sort of. Talk about like the Steam Deck is a Linux-based machine, and it runs a lot of Windows.
So it's a standalone.
Yes,
standalone.
Standalone. Yes, absolutely, standalone. But it's going to need a lot of technology behind it to make sure, because there's just a very small chance they launch this Xbox handheld and it has a different set of games that can work on it. They got to sort of make it feel like a cohesive experience, and that will require a lot of effort, because you can't just take an Xbox Series S right now and put it in a handheld and then expect any sort of good battery life, even as we are getting improved efficiency across the board from a lot of these processors. It just would be wouldn't be great at this point. So yeah. All right. Let's take a quick break, and then we'll come back. We'll talk about Sony bringing back dormant franchises and Minecraft 2, I guess, right after this.
Gotta get a little closer.
All right, let's get back into it. Sony is looking to revive a few dormant PlayStation franchises. This is from Ben Lyons at Game Reactor. Every year, it feels as though many of us ask Santa Claus for news on long dormant PlayStation franchises as part of our Christmas wishes. And each year, this seems to come up trumps, with Sony instead sticking to its usual format, the format of letting sleeping franchises lie while current franchises thrive. This has led many to give up hope on a new Sly Cooper or more Resistance, for example, but perhaps that hope shouldn't be forgotten. On the latest episode of the Video Game Podcast from VGC, Andy Robinson has claimed that Sony is currently working on reviving many of its long dormant franchises. The exact list of series that could be coming back remains unclear, but Robinson refers to them as deep cuts, old IP stuff, and that there is at least a couple that they're working on. I'll just say I believe this story for one.
Yep, me too.
And for two, I think the long, the deep cut old IP stuff like does mean they are at least considering even like old PS1 games.
Sure.
It's not just Resistance and Sly Cooper stuff older than that. It seems like a lot of stuff might be on the table, but I trust Andy here is what I'm saying.
Rise up, Vib Ribbon fans. Your time might finally be coming.
Yes. I think that there's like, the Colony Wars, stuff like that. That might be on the bubble, but like, a Warhawk, like they did Starhawk on PS3 or in a new Warhawk on PS3. Is that right? But maybe,
it had that Starhawk, was it?
Yes, they definitely did a Starhawk.
With that guy with the blue eyes, they put in PlayStation All Stars Battle Royale to drum up support for Starhawk, and nobody played it.
Yeah, Dan Riker says Team Asobi make a new Jumping Flash.
Jumping Flash was the first name I thought of when I saw this,
and it's like, and I think not impossible. It's just that's not impossible. But this is also an initiative where I think it's it's deep cut old IP stuff, and then also like another word to add to that would be and smaller, like reduced budget. Reduced budget games makes it sound like this initiative to like make cheap bullshit, and it's not what's happening here. But like they don't want these to be $200 million projects. They want them to be something they could do quicker and with smaller teams, and ergo less money. And hey, I think that is a good idea overall. But also it's like, that is something where it's like, yeah, they're excited about it now. Herman Hulst is looking around and be like, hey, can we fill in some of these gaps with some of these older franchises? Can we find some studios to work on this stuff? And, that stuff comes out and they do okay. They'll still keep doing it probably, but they won't like fall in love with this idea, and they could very easily get distracted. It won't be the core thrust of what PlayStation Studios is, I think. So I'm trying not to get my hopes up too much, but overall, I'm excited about this. How about you?
No, I think it's a good idea, and I think Astrobot might have kind of opened their eyes a little bit with how, like, they probably were considering that to be just like, we're going to put this out there just to have a game out there, and all of a sudden it's taken home the top prize a month ago or 3 weeks ago, whatever it was. They're probably looking at that like, okay, how do we replicate that? Was it the nostalgia factor with all these old franchises and faces showing up as little robots? Let's see if that's the way to go. So you might see, as I've seen names in the chat here, Jumping Flash, Incredible Crisis, Deep Cut there. Parappa the Rapper this seems like a Parappa the Rapper story, right? You bring out a new Parappa the Rapper with a new soundtrack, maybe throw in some like DDR style stuff with some PSVR 2 compatibility or what have you. Oh, that might drive the price up. But that's the kind of franchise. Croc's already coming back. That's the kind of franchise I think would benefit from something like this. Could go back and look at, like I said, the roster for PlayStation All-Stars, or go look at the Wikipedia for old PS1. My mind goes to Legend of Dragoon, but I feel like that would be too big. That was a big old PS1 RPG. That would be more expensive one. That would be out of the realm of this if they ever brought that back.
Yeah, but like an HD remaster, do that. Like of that game.
Yeah, okay. That works. Ape Escape is another great example of something that could benefit from this. Yeah, I love when old IPs get a new second chance at life, whether it's a remaster, remake, or a brand new entry. If anything, it just tells the youths what we used to play, and they need to know that sometimes. So yeah, bring it on, man. Let's see it. Let's see it.
Here's my pitch. Sony, you get the pen out. Write this down. You go to studio/publisher Twinbeard, and you say, "Hey, make us a game that is secretly another game, like you did with Frog Fractions." And maybe it also could just be a website, and it turns out like people start to play one game, and then it quickly turns into Incredible Crisis, and they don't realize it. It's this secret game they put out or whatever. I want that. I want a weird studio making a new Incredible Crisis. I think that would be fantastic to see. Yeah,
I like that.
Give me
like this.
Give it
to him, and give it to him, Jim Ryan.
Yeah, Jim Ryan, get back to work. Get back in the salt mines. Original Minecraft creators has, quote, basically announced a spiritual successor, I guess. This is from Raleigh Reynolds at Nintendo Life. Minecraft creator Marcus Notch Person has basically announced a spiritual successor to the exceptionally popular sandbox game after issuing a poll on social media, which is how most things get done these days. The developer asked his audience what they would like him to focus on in 2025, with the options being a traditional roguelike mixed with a tile-based first-person dungeon crawler or a spiritual successor to Minecraft. Not surprisingly, an overwhelming majority, 81.5%, voted for the Minecraft successor, despite Pearson encouraging users to vote for the alternative. Since then, he has indicated that he was 100% serious about all that. And in responding to a comment, clarified that he has basically announced Minecraft 2. No. Just no. If someone's serious about something, you don't do it this way. This is not we're doing a fun little poll. This is, Elon Musk, I want to just get a pop on social media. Here's my thing where do you want me to make Minecraft too? Whatever happened to the last game he was making, that QTX10C or whatever it was, a bunch of letters and numbers.
That sounds right.
Nothing ever happened with that, and nothing's ever going to happen with this either. He is not going to make another game. No. But what the hell would this look like even if he did, Jason?
Yeah, there isn't. How do you make a second Minecraft? Minecraft 2 is just slap the number 2 on what he's already made. I just want him to shut up and go away.
Yep.
Honestly, I just want him to just it must be that one of his 2025 resolutions was to get more attention.
Right.
So he puts out this sneaky little poll. What do you want me to do? And he had to know. If he didn't, he's more of a dope than I thought he was. I don't think, and if we do hear about this, if there is some sort of Minecraft 2 or whatever the name would even be, because I love how it says he doesn't want to sneakily infringe on the incredible work the Mojang team is doing. Yeah. How are you going to do that, pal? If he wants to try it and we can all laugh at him for it, fine. Go ahead, spend your money. Otherwise, enjoy your candy room, shut up, and do your thing, man. Just leave us alone.
Yeah, he did, he was pretty quiet for the last year or so. I had not heard about Notch recently. And people are asking, hey, why the negativity towards Notch? For people that don't remember, he was just kind of lightly aligned with Gamergate and stuff like that. But just things of that nature. He's also just kind of crappy overall. So, I think I was I'm with you. Would like him to mostly just go away, be quiet.
Just go away. You contributed to our fair industry, and you get royalties until you choke on one of your candies. So just enjoy that.
Okay, yeah. And isn't he a turf and liberally uses the N-word? Really? Okay. Well, loves using the N-word. Hey, go to hell, Notch. No one, actually, no one. Spend all your money trying to make Minecraft 2. And people are like, well, we're just going to keep playing Minecraft. It's just a bad idea because you just, there's a reason the owner of Minecraft now, Microsoft, has not made a Minecraft 2 because you could just update Minecraft. And that's what people actually want. So what are you talking about? What you're really talking about is I'm going to make a clone of the video game I made. And listen, there's nothing wrong with that. There's plenty of creators that have spent their entire life making one game over and over again. Shout out to Jeff Mentor. Make another Tempest. I want another Tempest from you. That's fantastic. But it's not like Tempest 4000 or whatever blew the doors off of anybody. And I expect Minecraft 2 to be very similar to a Tempest 4000. All right. PlatinumGames is celebrating 15 years of Bayonetta with a year-long event. This is from Ollie Reynolds at Nintendo Life. PlatinumGames has announced that it's conducting a year-long event focusing on the original Bayonetta after the game recently celebrated its 15th anniversary. Originally launched in Japan on 29th of October 2009 with a worldwide release following in January 2010, it spawned 2 mainline sequels, 1 spin-off entry, and a whole bunch of supplemental material, including an animated movie entitled Bayonetta Bloody Fate. PlatinumGames hasn't revealed what it's got up its sleeve at the time of writing, but urged fans to keep an eye on its social media channels and official website for all of the upcoming announcements. Alongside the news, Platinum published a statement regarding the future of the company, amid speculation that many of its lead creators could have followed Kamiya out of the company. Kamiya left and has started something new with Capcom, and is making
Okami
sequel. Yes, thank you. Metal Gear Rising director Kinji Sato, Astral Chain director Takahisa Atora, and Anarchy Reigns director Masaki Yamanaka all removed the PG from their social media handles last month. Over the past 15 years, and this is a quote now from Platinum, over the past 15 years, we've been able to walk alongside Bayonetta and the series' charming cast of characters. Bringing joy to so many people through Bayonetta has been an invaluable journey for us. Moving forward, we will continue to take on new challenges to create games that surprise and delight our fans. We look forward to your continued support of Bayonetta and PlatinumGames. Why are developers and publishers always trying to surprise and delight us? That's their favorite thing to do.
It really is.
Yeah.
This whole thing reeks of please still like us.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
please still like us.
They're going to ground, right? You know, like they've seen that they need to make a retreat here, and so where are they going? They're going back to Bayonetta, and they're going to lean on that. And it's a fair strategy. I just don't have much faith that it's going to amount to much worth caring about. But you know, I get it. I think they also hired a new director recently. I can't remember where from. If anyone in chat remembers, let me know.
I don't remember that news either. It's not just it's not just Kami either. It's the names here. I think Metal Gear Rising goes without saying. That game's amazing. Anarchy Reigns I missed, but Astral Chain I thought was excellent. I reviewed that for Hollywood Reporter. And it was a low-key, very good, very fun game that I still think about once in a while. And so there's a lot of talent they're losing there. If that's true, that they've all left. Now, did they all follow him to Clovers and Capcom? Remains to be seen. Are they doing their own thing? Also remains to be seen. But that's just a lot of good talent leaving all at once. And frankly, Platinum really always had this bit of tarnish to them, I think, after Scalebound was canceled, right? That was like a tipping point where it was like, what's going on there? That might not have been their decision. It might have been an Xbox decision, but still, something about that company has not felt right since then for me. And I just feel like this might be more of that.
You know, the leadership there has been like, we are continuing to go hard on games as a service. That seemed to be one of the things that drove Kamiya out. And by all accounts, that has not changed at Platinum. They're still pretty hard on games as a service. And it's, you know, maybe, listen, you can maybe make a good one of those, but you haven't so far. So,
and the one that they did make came out and was like, what? It was out for 2 months? 1 month?
Something like that.
Name of it.
What was, God, I can't remember. It's Michael Hyam's favorite game. Babylon's Fall. There we go. Thank you, Kane Highland.
Well, thank you, Kane.
Michael Hyam's Babylon's Fall.
Oh God, yeah, that was what, 2 months, a month, maybe. That was like not quite a Concord, but also not a success either. It was like it was weird. Like it blinked, it was going.
It was definitely like opened and shuttered within the same calendar year. So yeah,
for sure.
It definitely got wiped
weird.
out. All right, let's finish up the headlines here. Let's get through these last couple of stories. Elden Ring Nightreign is removing one of Soul's best loved features. This is from Jordan Midler at VGC. Elden Ring Nightreign is removing one of the best loved features. The developer believes players won't have enough time to engage with this mechanic. Players in Elden Ring Nightreign won't be able to leave messages for players or read those left by other players. This feature, which dates back to Demon's Souls, allowed players to point out the way to hidden treasure, leave crude jokes, or trick players into jumping off of ledges. Speaking to IGN Japan, director Junya Ishizaki said, "You could still see the ghosts, but we removed the message features in this game, where each session is about 40 minutes long. There's no time to write your own message, and no time to read messages written by others." Another significant change is that currently, according to the developers, foes defeated in battle won't respawn when the player rests at the site of grace. In Souls games, players trade off the ability to heal and save their game at certain checkpoints for the downside of all minor enemies respawning. I mean, it sounds like a pretty different game that they're making here. 40-minute sessions, multiplayer focused, three-player cooperative multiplayer focused, bringing in a bunch of enemies from other FromSoft games, including Dark Souls, to fill out the world. To me, it sounds like cobbled together, but in a very cool and interesting way. it sounds like a company remixing their own stuff to make something that is different and still has the Elden Ring name on it and takes place in that world and gives players a way that they wanted to play that game originally. But I'm like, what? Why is it 40-minute sessions? Like, are we just like going on runs? Is it going to be like Monster Hunter? Maybe it's starting to sound like Monster Hunter to me. Overall, though, it's like, okay, fair. So we're not going to be leaving messages. I guess that makes sense because you're going to be likely with other people that you're playing with. So that to me, I won't be missing that feature in this specific game. Although, future FromSoft games, I want it to come back for sure. What do you think?
I agree with you that if sessions are only 40 minutes long, what's the point of messages, especially if you're playing with other people? And, presumably those people are the ones on your friends list leaving you the message to begin with. So you could just have this little moment of discovery together, which other Dark Souls games didn't really offer. You had to do the single player part and then leave messages or invade other people's games, stuff like that. Honestly, to me, I feel like the lack of respawn at a Site of Grace has a little more of an impact to the Souls formula.
Yes, yeah.
But
sounds like it's not the Souls formula. Yeah.
Right. But I wonder if that is also because of the speed of the run. But then why would you stop at a Site of Grace to begin with? If it's like a road, could you respec real quick before you go to the next section?
Or probably buying stuff. Yeah.
So maybe that's why. But then if you get killed, then the run would be over and they wouldn't have to respawn, right? So this would then imply that you could go to a Site of Grace, save, and then there will be backtracking required.
Yeah, that's right, because that's why it's like when I hear it, I wasn't immediately thinking roguelite, but maybe, that doesn't mean it's not run-based. Yeah, it sounds like it's probably run-based, but yeah, how does the save mechanic work? You're right, I'm also confused about what that looks like. Because the way I'm viewing it is you are starting off at the beginning and you're trying to get to the end. You need to kill everything between here and there. And then if you die, you go back to the beginning. But you're right. Maybe there are checkpoints actually, and you start from there instead. Who really knows? Or maybe they're soft checkpoints where it's you can go back there if you want to maybe practice this area, but that's not going to count towards actually fulfilling the goals of beating the game. Something like in Spelunky, where you could start from the second spot if you wanted to. But then what does that have to do with what does that have to do with the enemies not respawning? Either way, though, I'm still very excited about this cooperative run-like game with FromSoft gameplay. Yeah, that sounds good.
And I kind of like it's a greatest hits of all their enemies, from FromSoft's history. Now they say Dark Souls and those games, but don't be surprised if you see a big blocky Kingsfield boss at the end of one of these runs.
That would rule.
A real deep cut where you have to fight this janky ass, he's still all polygon, looking like he's from Virtual Fighter 1 with all these and he's swinging it. Oh, that'd be awesome. That'd be so cool.
Put the president and the mech from Metal Wolf Chaos in there as a boss. Let's fight him.
Yeah.
That'd be a real video game at that point. Sonic the Hedgehog film franchise raises past $1 billion at the box office. This is from Darren Bonthus at GameSpot. The headline is the story. I really just put this in here because whenever I see this, I'm reminded of Mike Minotti always telling me, it is so strange that this company had to be bullied into making $1 billion. We had to just bully them and be hey, just make Sonic appealing to look at instead of what you've done here. And they did it, and because of that, they've made $1 billion in just the movies, from just the films. But I'm still so shocked that original Sonic design ever happened, because the whole thing with Sonic is kids look at it and they're like, I like the way that looks. It's that simple, and then they become Sonic fans for life. And messing that up just showed some deep misunderstanding of what they were even working on. But hey, they fixed it, and here they go, making a lot of money, right?
It's wild. I don't know if you watch the Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers show on Disney Plus, where they brought him back as the cameo.
I saw that. Yes, that was incredible.
That was the best part of that movie, unfortunately. But you're right. How did that ever exist to begin with? Unless they knew.
Yeah,
they knew, and they had the original design. Just someone was already working on it. They knew what they were doing here. Did they think it would turn into $1 billion box office franchise? Probably not. But they knew. They had to have. There's no way. There's no way that Sega would have let that original design go. They would have looked one look at the teeth alone, and they would have been like, no, start it over.
I like the idea that like Paramount Pictures, like it's not just incompetency. It's like, no, it's a conspiracy. I wonder if like Sega saw the teeth design and we're like, well, Hollywood just knows better than we do. That's like the people crave teeth on hedgehogs. That's human teeth specifically.
Maybe we've been inside our bubble for too long. Are teeth the thing? Let's see if teeth
the
are the
children yearn for teeth. All right, last headline here. Wait, what was that?
I just said, oh my God, that was gross.
Naughty Dog founder reveals budgets of original games and why they sold to Sony. This is from Eddie McCoo at GameSpot. Andy Gavin, one of the co-founders of Naughty Dog, has explained why the company sold itself to Sony back in 2001. Posting on LinkedIn, Gavin said he's been asked countless times why Naughty Dog took the deal, and it was all about rising development costs even back then. Gavin said when Naughty Dog first started making games in the 1980s, game development costs were manageable, with costs for games made in the early 80s running about $50,000 per game. For 1992's Rings of Power, Naughty Dog spent about $100,000. For the first Crash Bandicoot game, however, costs rose to $1.6 million, with Jak and Daxter 2001 coming in at $15 million or more, and then just a few years later, Jak 3's development costs came in at between $45 and $50 million. Wow. Naughty Dog was self-funding all its projects all the time, and the stress about financing these ballooning budgets independently became too much to bear. Gavin said rising development costs is a systemic issue to this day in the video game industry. So, I mean, God, this is still like the main story we talk about why do companies behave the way they behave, and it's because costs for them to make games continues to rise. And boy, that just goes all the way back to the beginning. Like, this is not like keeping up with inflation. This is much, much, much faster than that in terms of how much it costs from one game to the next. And you could see them looking at that, be like, is this ever going to end? And then be like, it might not. And so they were freaked out. And like, we need a financial backer that can take on this risk instead of us, because how can we really be creative and make stuff that's interesting when we're desperately paralyzed by fear that the next game we put out will be a flop and destroy everything? Like, it's one thing to be like, we're going to get aggressive and we're going to take chances. And then you look around and be like, and everybody here relies on their paychecks that I'm providing for them to eat. Oh my God, we cannot take those risks. That's, I mean, so when Sony offers to buy you, you say yes. And it's like, I think it's the other side of the conversation about consolidation. When these companies do see an exit to sell to a bigger company, they maybe are a little bit more willing to take risks, and that does provide a little bit of a safety net to like keep people's jobs for a little bit longer. Of course, then we see these big companies cutting jobs as well. So it's no real answer, but I think it's like something for a company like Naughty Dog. You could see them being like, yeah, this is going to work out for us and enable us to make bigger and bigger games and hire more and more people, and that's exactly what they did. But boy, Jason, feels like, yeah, sure, development costs go up for forever. It really does have to break at some point, right?
It does. This is, I mean, as they're saying now, $300, $400, $500 million today, that it's not sustainable. It's not, but like, I don't think anyone's even interested in finding the root cause either. They're too busy trying to get the latest technology or the most expensive, even like voice actors and stuff like that. Or if they're going for big budget celebrities, they cost more than your normal trained voice actor. Hire more trained voice actors. They need, someone needs, and I don't know if it needs to be someone independently who studies these studios and figures out what the hell is going on here. But yes, it's either they figure it out or we have another bubble burst like we did in was late 80s, late 70s, early 80s.
82,
83. Yeah. 80s. Right. So if they want this industry to continue to thrive, that's the only way they're going to do it. And people are saying that the bubble already burst with all the layoffs and everything. That I'm hesitant to say that. That's more of a expected retraction after the boom of the pandemic period. Yeah. As much as all of that completely sucks, I'm not willing to say the bubble has burst yet.
Yeah, people are still spending as much money on video games this year as they did last year and the year before that. And it's like, then there was like a small, like 5% drop. Like small, it's a lot of money. 5% drop coming out of the pandemic. Yeah.
the people are saying, the video game industry is making all this money. Why like it makes sense that the games cost this much to develop, and that's not true because one company is spending $500 million. They're not necessarily making all that back, and if they are, it's taking forever. Not every game is Grand Theft Auto.
Yep.
Right? Not every game has the clout where the rest of the industry is waiting to see when their release date comes out so they can plan accordingly. It's just not. I'm worried. I do worry about it sometimes. I just sit here and think about it like, man, how much longer am I going to be able to, is this going to be the thing that I do before it just collapses? And we're just talking about like whatever it is that we're talking, it scares the shit out of me sometimes.
Yeah.
Ubisoft, as somebody puts up in chat, great example.
Yep. They're definitely the like poster child for, there is a sickness in this industry and there's no obvious cure.
Rot.
Yes. A rot that is kind of taking over. Now it's like, the difference between now and the crash in 83. And as a disclaimer, I realize that the crash happened in the United States. If you don't say that, a bunch of people everywhere else gets mad, even though, by God, the industry was in the United States. It was a $3 billion industry. And then it went down to $100 million 2 years later. That is just a massive evacuation of the amount of money going into the industry. And of course, it had global effects. But yeah, it was mostly a crash in terms of the people in the United States, the biggest market, stopped spending money on video games. That's not what's happening now. That is not it, but it is similar in that the shift of like, okay, the money that people are spending on games is going in one direction, mostly towards companies like Epic and Call of Duty, games like that. And so there is actually an evacuation of money going to just everything else. And that's why we're seeing like companies like Ubisoft struggle and so many indie studios close. So some of the effects are very similar, but it's like, until people stop spending money on video games, there won't be an overall crash. It's just going to be this small, tiny collapse that then affects that then seems like it could have a domino effect, and it has had a domino effect that has led to a bunch of companies laying off people. But I always go back to these companies aren't laying off people because of some economic collapse. They're laying off people because they made slightly less money than they wanted to make, and so they are like, we're going to save money and we're going to impress our investors by doing this. And
that's right.
That's always what it's been the last several years from all of these companies. Very few companies are like fighting for their life, and that's why they're laying people off. That's not what Microsoft was doing. Are you kidding me?
No.
No. So those two things are pretty unrelated. All right. So Naughty Dog's owned by Sony now. That happened in 2001, but that's the news story.
Hey.
All right, that does it for the headlines. Let's see here. Do I have the poll result from last year? Let's see here. I'll refresh this page and see what's on there. What is your most anticipated game of 2025? Look at that. That's right there. I need to answer. So let's click on this. I'm gonna say not GTA 6 Ghost of Yotei. Maybe it is Elden Ring Nightreign. Yeah, sure, why not? And that's the least popular answer at 10%. Then it is Ghost of Yotei at 21%. Then 22% say Monster Hunter Wilds, and 47%, unsurprisingly, say Grand Theft Auto 6. How about you? Any of those games? You got something else you're looking forward to?
Of those four, Ghost of Yotei would top my list, but also I am thinking of Capcom Fighting Collection 2. It's nice to see Capcom versus SNK 2 back in the spotlight once again. I'm not really that excited for Grand Theft Auto 6. I'll play Grand Theft Auto 6, the campaign, then I'll be done with it. Doom the Dark Ages, as someone puts in chat, that's another one I
saw that one, man. That I actually am super looking forward to that.
Yeah. And then, Switch 2, maybe.
Yeah, maybe a new 3D Mario.
Maybe a new this year. You did mention that on Game Mess Decides, didn't you?
Yeah.
When you fixed Dan's list. Good job on that, by the way.
Yeah, we did some good work there. Absolutely.
You did. 3D Mario this year.
I mean, it seems more likely than not.
You think that's going to be like the anchor, the heavyweight?
I mean, I honestly, at this point, I think that the anchor would be a new Mario Kart, because that
with the driving that we talked
exactly. Yes. But yes, a new 3D Mario would be the anchor for a lot of that early adopter audience for sure.
Yeah, can you imagine the warnings on this new Switch if that is what's going on? Please don't punch anyone in the face as you're driving.
Nintendo always gives you a way to punch people, but then they don't want you to punch people.
They don't want you to do it.
Make up your mind, Furukawa. Jesus. All right. I got a new poll question. We'll get to that here in a second. Before we do that, though, Jason Fanelli, why don't you tell people where they can find you on the internet, what you have going on in 2025, all that good stuff.
So I am at Big Man Fanelli on all social medias. I am mostly now on Blue Sky. I've basically do all of my shit posting over there now. I have a couple of things in the hopper already. There's one interview that I'm waiting to hear back when we're going to schedule. It's a very exciting feature that might be going up on Rolling Stone, so I'll be able to have more on that once I get some information on when I'm going to interview this person. Other than that, just doing writing for GameSpot, MMORPG, MTG Salvation. If you do like the Magic the Gathering cards, that website is back, and I've been writing some stuff for them. As far as 2025 goes, I remember last year, the hat, where's the hat? Auditions were last night, got called back for Wednesday. Going to get me that lion. It's happening, hopefully.
Yeah. Oh, hell yeah. That's fantastic.
Yeah. We're going to try and get that Cowardly Lion. So if you see me get completely unhinged on Wednesday night on social media, you'll understand why. But yeah, just, so far as projects in the hopper, it's just the one other than the general writing. But like things I'm looking forward to, we talked about Monster Hunter. We talked about Capcom versus SNK 2 and the Fighting Collection, Ghost of Yotei. Once again, talking about Magic the Gathering. A Final Fantasy expansion is this year in June. Just like probably 1,000 cards with Final Fantasy characters on it. Can't wait for that. Yeah, man. It's you know what else I'm excited for? Hopefully this is a nice segue. Dan Reichert's goddamn Blight Club. Where is it?
It's it likely is could be this week. Jeez, man. I think he's got to start it this week because if he doesn't, he gets in trouble. So
oh no.
Yeah. So I think it probably is going to start this week. We'll get back to the Slack cave and determine that once and for all. But yeah, I really am looking forward to that. It's been a long time coming. Oh, I'm gonna sneeze. Can I stop it? Yeah, I stopped it. All right, there we go.
Yeah, good job.
Yeah, thank you. He has to play Terminator 3 Rise of the Machines for the PlayStation 3, I think.
That's so specific.
I sent him so much bullshit for his costume. He is going to look insane. So really looking forward to seeing that big reveal. And again, that's probably going to happen this week. Real quick, let's do a new poll question. Do you like the idea of using a Switch 2 Joy-Con as a mouse? Yes, no. I do like the idea. I tested it out on the Joy-Con I have. I think that feels just fine. That could be really cool. But boy, if they do this, they better have a Mario Paint. A new Mario Paint.
Yes, they said, "Oh, Joy-Con drift, huh? I'll show you."
Yeah,
you'll just be drifted with the. No, it's like I said in the first segment, it's the kind of thing that they would think of that I would go, "Oh shit, that makes perfect sense."
Yep.
And then in implementation, there we go. Now, like you said, whether or not it'll be used just for the first party games, and then the third party will be like, "Hey, you can point if you want."
Yeah,
remains to be seen. But I dig it. It's a cool idea. If that's what happens, I'm in.
We'll get the results of that poll on Game S Mornings here on Wednesday on Giant Bomb. Speaking of Giant Bomb, tomorrow the Bombcast. It will have it'll be back with the full crew actually talking about new stuff. Once again, we did the Game of the Year podcast. Go listen to those. Those were a lot of fun. Our full list is out now, so be sure to check that out and listen to that so you don't get spoiled. But yeah, we'll be back with the Bombcast tomorrow. We will probably have Blake Club this week. Probably a voicemail dump truck. I don't know. Jeff's is probably back soon. There's a whole bunch of stuff happening. Be sure to tune in for all of it. We'll go figure out exactly what we're doing right now, in fact. All right, Jason Fanelli, thank you so much, man, for spending the today talk with me about video games, man. I really appreciate it.
I am very appreciative that you reached out. Honored that I'm the first one of 2025. And I am looking forward to more antics with you. And, if it does come to fruition, perhaps we put a friendly wager up on our teams
for
here.
Sure. Yeah, although I've had a lot of bad luck making friendly wagers. I think I've lost all the ones I've done with Bacalar, Dan, and Mike. So it might be bad luck, but I might do it anyhow.
I know, Jeff. That's the point.
Damn. All right. Let's see. Oh, yeah. One last thing. Marino says community game of the year voting ends in 45 minutes. There's a link in chat. Giant Bomb. Go to giantbomb.com, and I think you can probably find the details there. But yeah, 45 minutes. So if you're listening live, you still have a chance. All right. I think let's get out of here. Thank you so much once again, Jason. Thank you all for listening and watching. You're the best audience in gaming. Until next time, have a good one. Take care of yourself, and goodbye. All right.